Okay. Okay. So as I said, for our product, store-on product, if we want to do the quick restore, there are three ways. One is like writing my ISO image to DVD drives, and then putting the DVD drives into the store one's box, and then starting the quick restore either from the lab directly. In case ILO is configured, then probably once a person kind of manually puts those DVD drives into the store one's box, I can manually do it. I can remotely do it from ILO. Second one is similar to DVD, like I can write my ISO images to flash drives or flash sticks or USB sticks, whatever you can call, and then insert those things into the store one's box, and then do a quick restore either from lab directly rebooting that machine, or from uh, uh, remotely using the ILO credential. Third one is like directly doing it from ILO, where we have to mount the location of ISO image to that particular box through ILO, and then do the quick restore from ILO. So third is the most preferred way of QRing nowadays, as almost all our DATs and have been configured with the ILOs. So anyways, we are using those ILOs to uh, uh, do the reboot and all stuff. So it is easier for us to do the QR from ILO. To make life simpler, what we have done now, especially in our lab setups, what we have done now is, as you all have, like, you all of us have a QPNT TS form account. That's nothing but a remote machine access to which you can connect from your laptop. From there we can access our lab machines or test client, right? So what we have done that is, let me open my TCS form account credential. So what actually we have done is, like, now we have asked infra to set up a cron job directly on our build server. So what it does is, the cron job runs every day, and it just pulls out all the latest builds from the build server. So in every of your TS form account, you can see that in my computer there is a folder mounted called softwares. This software,
Have you shared your screen? Yeah.
you don't see. Oh. Okay. Yeah. So now you can see, right? Hello?
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not at receipt.
Yes.
Yeah, it's loaded now.
Okay. So I just logged into my TCS form account. Okay. So in every of your machines in your TC form, we have mounted a folder called software. This software, what we have done is, Infa now has put a cron job. So under software, there is a folder called d2dshare.usa.hp.com, and if you go under that, there are folders like d2d, under which there are folders called builds and sign builds. Till today, all our code till Y are all sign builds, and Circle, which is earlier was built, was unsigned build still, because it's still in the development stage and it has not been kind of released with signed option. So anyways, the cron job has been set, and every time whenever the weekly build happens, it will pull the latest software code into these folders. So the reason for doing this is, like, instead of us, like, whenever we want to do a QR or whatever, instead of we going into each of those wiki page and then download ISO, this itself takes care of it, and it keeps all the ISOs in these respective folders, so that we can directly log into ILO and start our quick restore. And so there is a folder called sign build. Sign builds, as you can see, it has like directories with respect to software releases names. You can see that it has information about all our past software releases like Trigal, Ushba, Vitusha, Vaison, Xanadu, as well as Epsilon. So how we generally do like the third step, which I was like third possible, not third step, the third possible way what we are using, which we can QR, like that was from like manually mounting the location of ISO image and then doing the QR. So what I have to do is I need to log in, okay, log into my box. I think, let me directly do that. Okay. From my TC form account, then log into the remote console. So when you open a remote console, you see a tabs like power switch, virtual drives, keyboard, and help. So we need to select this virtual drives, and we need to select this thing called image file, and that will kind of ask me like which image file you want to mount. So that time I need to go into the software folder. From there, the d2d share usa.hp folder, then d2d folder, then depending upon what exactly I'm trying to QR with, as of now, if I want to QR with Zerkel build, I need to go into builds directory. If I want to QR my machines with Epsilon or Xanadu or any other previous code, I need to get into sign build directory. From there, I can go into any of the software which I want my machine to be cured with. Let's say like let us kind of go and do, let's say like I'm trying to downgrade my machine and I wanted to use my Xanadu code. So I selected Xanadu, and then I wanted let's take some random image. I wanted to reimage my machine with image 1433.1. So I just select that folder. There I see this ISO file. I just select and click it open. So what it does is it actually mounted that ISO file to my store box now. So then when I do a power reboot or a cold boot or whatever, it boots it. When it comes next time, it boots using the ISO image which I mounted on. That kind of loads the software. Let me mount as well. It mounts, it kind of reboots using the ISO image which I mounted on, and then it tells me whether you want to do the quick restore or you want to exit. Once I select like a quick restore or press R to do a quick restore, it just starts the QR process. First stage is what it does is it loads that image and it puts into the one of the logical volumes which it creates in our stored ones box. So it kind of varies. For some products, like we have a dedicated like drives where it will go and create those logical volumes, and it will put those software stack in those logical volumes. For some that it uses the existing drive itself. Like few drives it will, for example, in case of Waterloo, we just have a head and shelf, so each of them has like 12 drives each. So what it does is it uses the two drives in the head to create those logical volume and to put that software stack, and it will use the 10 drives in head and other 12 drives as a storage, whereas it will use the whatever two drives in head as a like placeholder for this logical volumes where it wants to keep the software stack on. But so in some like DARTs, for example temple, it has a dedicated like drives which will be used for uh, putting the software stack on. So if you see the number of shelf and all, you can see that two drives, it shows up one of the disk enclosure with two drives. That two drives is nothing but the drives which are used to create these logical volumes and put the software stack on. Other whatever drives which it has is used for storage. So first thing is when we log into our ILO and we mount the ISO location and reboot the DAT, it comes back. It comes back with options asking me to do the quick restore or exit. Once I press R, it does the quick restore and it creates the logical volumes and it pulls the software image from that ISO location and it puts that image into those logical drives. And then once it successfully completes transferring the software into those logical drives, it asks me press any key to reboot. So I need to press any key that will trigger the reboot. Again machine will come back and it will go through all the like flexi booting and all the stuff, and then it directly asks me you want to continue installation. When I say like select some option, it says like press 1 to shut down or press 2 to continue installation. When I select 2, it continues the installation and it adds the BIOS ID information and it creates the BIOS and it creates the other hybrid stuff and all those stuff. And finally it says like it has successfully installed. I just get a login prompt that means like it has installed successfully. Once it successfully installs the software into my machine and rebuilds my machine, next important thing which I generally do is you can directly go and like discover storage and add storage to the box, but as a best practice I find uncomfortable using ILO and doing everything from the remote console of ILO. So I just use this remote console just to do the quick restore and do the QR. As soon as it does the like QR, like as I said, once ISO image is mounted and when I press done the cold reboot, now it is asking me, it is kind of booted using that ISO image. It is asking me whether you want to do the quick restore or exit. When I press R, it is asking me, are you want to re-image, are you sure? If I press S, it will start doing the, so you can see that it's copying image to the temporary file system. So it does this kind of first step, like it creates some logical drives and then it puts that temporary image into that stuff, and then ask me to press any key to reboot and whatever. So once I do that, once it installs the code and it gives me login prompt, you, as I said, you can go and discover the storage, add storage, and do everything from remote console. But the best, as a best practice, what I suggest and what I usually do is I configure IPs. So once you get a login prompt from the remote console itself, uh, uh, do the IP config. In the So I think everyone knows about it. Like we generally use netset wizard command to do the IP configuration. So I don't think I need to explain about that, but let's do that just for this recording purpose, so that that also gets recorded and people who are in future wants to reference like how exactly we do the IP configuration can use this video. Okay, so as this whatever that which I am using to for this demo, it's still kind of copying the image. Let me take one more machine and show you how exactly we do the IP configuration on that using this I'm directly doing because this machine already has the IP configured, so that's the reason I am connecting through putty and doing it from putty. But in case of QR and reimage, so as it is like a fresh install, you will be not able to log into the that till these IPs are configured. So once it, like, let's assume this as a remote console, so it give you a login prompt. So you log in as admin using admin as username and admin as password, and then use command netset wizard. So what usually it asks for is first it asks us to provide the DNS server IPs. So almost all our IPs and DNS details and everything whichever we have assigned and allocated has been documented in our wiki page. If I log into my wiki page, okay, if you have a confusion like what all the IPs you should be using on that particular dot, just go to the our wiki page and refer the IP details whichever mentioned in the wiki page. As you can see that like we have documented, like if you log into any machine or whatever which you want to QR your machine, you can see that everything like all the IPs are documented. ILO IPs, all the different VLAN 10 gig IPs as well as 1 gig IPs, the gateway, the user marks. And as a best practice and as to make life simpler, what we have done is we have kind of like maintain this or even so based on the rack it is in, we like started using the similar IPs. It's a pattern which are used across all the dots. For example, this particular 4900 is sitting in rack 4 at the first location, so we have named that as like we have given IPs like it's what this denotes is like the 38 actually it denotes the row it is in. Almost all our DATs are in row 38 in the lab, and this 4 is denotes like rack 4, and 1 kind of denotes it's the first couplet in that rack. So like that we have maintained. So that's how we documented and maintained this pattern across all the DATs. So now first I enter my DNS IP. So I just, and one more, I think one more location, let me show you. So here actually we documented all the IPs and all those stuff. So there's one more folder, one more tab, I would say infrastructure server. So here if you go there, this is where we have yeah. So here is where we documented our DNS server information. So we have two DNS server, that's like 10.38, 10.1 and 10.40.1. So we can use both, or we can use any one of them, it doesn't matter. So let me use 10.1 and then I just press enter. So it is asking me to press 1 to go to next step, and so I will select 1. Now it's asking me whether single or bonded port. We always set it as single port. Okay. Now this is a 4900 mission. So you can see that it is showing me the 4 1 gig ports as well as 4 10 gig ports. So we generally, in case of 4900 or any machine for matter, wherever it supports both 1 gig and 10 gig, we tend to configure just one of 1 gig so that we can access that from outside, and we configure all the 10 gig because that is where we are doing the data transfer. Only exception is on case of ball arms and oval, where it supports only 1 gig. So in that case I'm not going to use that public 1 gig IPs like 1038, that IP. I just configure those ports with my private IPs, which are like 172, 30, 31, 32, 33. So here in this case, as it is a 4900 machine, it supports both 1 gig as well as 10 gig. So I am going to configure 1 gig IP with the public address so that it can be accessed from test client, as well as it would be easier for me to like access it even from the browser of my laptop, rather than me going into any test client and from there opening the browser. That is kind of a must in case of oval and balance. But in this dot and all, at least by configuring one public 1 gig IP, I can avoid that. So I will press 1. It is asking me this is actually running with the Xanadu code. That's why this option is coming, whether both default and all, and why it's a bit different. So let me select 1, but similar to this. So is this a virtual VLAN? No, I'm not doing any virtual. So yes, it is static. So I will start. I will select 2. So I will enter this IP. So subnet, as I said, it is documented. If you have a confusion, that also like it's same for every mission, but still like if you have a doubt, you can go to the wiki and just check it out, like which is the subnet. It is also been documented. Okay. So subnet for 1 gig is like 255.255.255.0. The gateway is 1038. This also, like we always use like 254 as like this also we have maintained uniformity, and like we generally use based on the rack, and like we just use that IP plus 254 as like it's an indication for me like this is a gateway IP. We generally use this 254 as the gateway IP. Domain, you don't have to worry about it. Yes, this configuration is correct. I press 1. So it's asking me whether you want to configure another subnet or not. So in case of 4900, as I do need to configure my 10 gig IPs, I would say like yes, I need to configure. I will press yes, and again it's same like it's a single port. Now it is giving me the other 3 1 gig ports as well as 4 10 gig ports. I don't want to use any of the other 1 gig because I don't anyways use it in my testing. So my main area of concentration is my 10 gig. So I will select first one, that's 4. Static 1. Subnet is 255 0.0. Here also we maintain this pattern on gateways like 254 is what we. Yes, correct. And I want to configure one more 10 gig. Now you see like as I have configured already 110 gig, it just shows me the other 3 adapters. So I'll select 4 again.
Vijay, the gateway for the 10 gig IP is different, right, compared to the 1 gig IP?
So same like okay, the gateway. Yes,
Yeah,
the subnet what you asked, subnet mask.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, not the gateway. Yeah, the subnet mask.
Subnet mask, yes, it's different. It's 255, 255, 255 for 1 gig, and it's just 255, 255 for 10 gig.
Okay.
So if you have any doubt or something, you can just in the wiki.
We can check it, right?
Yeah, in the wiki it clearly tells. You can see that here it's 255, 255, and here.
Okay, got it, Vijay. Thanks.
Okay. So let's see, like static. So now I'm configuring the other 10 gig. So 4.1. Right, 255 0.0. Same as far gateway is concerned, 254 is. Again, yeah, I want to configure one more, so I selected 2. Now again one more adapter. Let me press 4. 1. Actually no. Static 32. 4.2. Sorry, 4.1. 255. 255. Manual. 4. I want to configure one more 10 gig. 1. And again select 4th adapter. And no. Stat 233 44.1 255 255 0.0. 254. So now I'm already done with my configuration of my 4 10 gig ports and 1 gig port. So I don't want to configure any more like 1 gig. So which anyways I don't use my, so I will say I don't want to configure, so I'll press 1 now, as I've already done with configuring all my 10 gigs as well as the 1 gig which I needed. So I'll press 1. Defaults, it internally kind of creates with subnet 1, 2, 3, 4 based on number of ports what we configured. I selected 1 and I say like, yeah, go to next step. And it validates whether I entered the proper IPs, proper net mask or proper gateway. If it sees any duplicate gateways has been entered between different subnets, or any wrong formatted IPs have been entered, it will, validation fails and you have to do everything from scratch by running the netset wizard. So as validation succeeded and it has not seen any problem, so it is asking me whether you want to configure this or not. It's asking my confirmation whether this configuration is correct. So I will say yes. When again it is asking me to type 1 to finish wizard and apply these settings. Okay, so it does that. Then we can do the net activation status to know the status of that. Like as for a demo, in this case I've shown you from like the putty session of already configured machine. I may lose the connection, but in case of as I already configured it didn't. Cool. So it has says like it has completed successfully. I can do net show config. So what happens is whenever I use netset wizard, it by default creates the config name by name net_wizard. So you can see that now when I do net show config list, which is generally used to list the number of configs configured on this machine, you see that factory default configuration, current, and net wizard. Net wizard is the one which machine itself creates when we configure our IP using net set wizard command. Current actually is the one which shows the existing config which are present in the machine. For example, like I can copy my net set wizard into some other config name and do some changes to it, change the IPs or add some additional 1 gig IPs or do whatever, just remove the 10 gig IPs and all those stuff, and then activate that particular config. And then what will happen is it will, when I do net show config list, it will show all those config, even the one which I copied and modified. When I do the net show config current, then that time it will show the config details of the config which I activated. Here as I configured my IPs using netset wizard and net_wizard is my config, so it will show the even if I do net show config current or net show config net wizard, it will show the same details because netset wizard is my config which is the which has been activated now. In some case, if I copy it to some other config and do changes and activate that config, then when I do the net show config current, it will show the IP config details of that config, not specifically the way it is showing now.
Vijay, I didn't get this thing. Can you come again once? Actually, okay. This wizard and current thing.
Okay, so so current is actually a command. Net show current is the config file which system itself creates to show the user about the information of existing activated config. Okay, when I do net show config current, it will show me the configure details of any config which has been activated.
Okay.
Netset wizard is the config file which machine created now by default as I configured IPs using netset wizard commands. When I ran this netset wizard command and configured my IPs, it by default created this config netset wizard with the whatever IP details which I entered.
So basically, you mean that these are like some kind of profile that we can just switch between?
Yes, exactly. So let's we have like command let copy net wizard. Net wizard to some like test one. So if I do now net show config list, it will now show all this thing. Like even the other one. Let's say like I do some modification to this test.1 config or do something, or let's say like I activate this net activate test1. But here I haven't done any modification. Let's assume that I have changed something and I have removed some 10 gig IPs, or I added some 1 gig IPs,
Right.
and activated that test. And that time when I do the net show config list, it will show me the test1 config details, because that's the current config which was activated.
That's
So
okay.
current will always show me the information about the configs which are currently being activated. Whereas I can create n number of other config files which whatever name I want and activate that config file as per my testing. For example, let's assume that we are doing the IPsec test. So in case of IPsec test, what happens is we need to add the encryption links. Okay. And after test, I just want to remove the encryption link. So in that case, instead of just adding the encryption link on the existing whatever config which is there, by default all the machine will have the net underscore wizard, because almost all our IPs are configured using netset wizard. So that config file will be there. So in case of IPsec test, to make our life simpler and just to avoid other overheads, what we can do is copy the netset wizard to here for example I showed you like I copied into a config file name called test1. Let's say like I copied same content to test1 and activated that test1. After that I add the encryption test to the test1 and I activate that, and then I complete my IPsec testing. Then instead of removing the links and then reactivating the link, I can directly activate the netset wizard, which doesn't have any encryption link. That's kind of goes back to the old config. This just an example I quoted. We can do whichever I want. So the basic thing to understand here is, whenever we configure our IPs using netset wizard, it creates the config file with default name of net underscore wizard. The current is the one more config file which always will be present in the box, that is used to just to know which config file has been activated. It just shows the information about the activated config file. Okay, so as I said, so you can see that it deleted some it created some drives and mounted that, created that logical drive, and then successfully copied the image, and it is asking me whether you want to restore completed, remove. So in the start I said like there are three possibilities, right? DVD or USB, or by manually mounting from ILO. So if we have done the using the first two, that's either from DVD or USB. So this is what actually we have to do. So that what has happens is we need to manually like um, uh, remove the DVD or USB stick, and then we need to reboot. Same happens in some case of ILOs as well. Some ILOs, this check will still be enabled. So we just have to cross check whether in this case it is like as soon as it is copied, it itself has unchecked this. But in some cases this will be checked as well. So we just have to make sure whether this is checked or not, because if it is checked now, and I reboot, what will happen is again it will boot using that image, and again it will go through this process, and again it will like say like whether you want to go the quick restore or whatever, and then again. So as it has unchecked this thing by itself, I don't have to worry about it. I just press any key which will reboot, and which kind of I'll ask me various options. Let it come back. So the thing is, first I manually mount that ISO image location, boot it, then it asks me to do whether quick restore or not. I will do a quick restore. It creates the logical file, and it pushes those image into my machine and asks me to reboot machine to start the quick restore. I just to start the installation, sorry, I press any key, and I just machine comes back, and it starts installing. It asks me the options like whether you want to shut down or do continue the installation. I just say like continue the installation. It installs, and then I get a login prompt. Once I get a login prompt, like as a best practice, instead of discovering a storage, I directly configure the IP so that I can access the machine directly from my laptop rather than like from the remote console or ILO. So I showed you like how we generally configure the IPs. Once you do that, probably you can log in to the box again using admin credentials and do system show status. So in case of newly here everything is added, that's the reason it shows like formatted and everything is running. But if this machine comes back and does the installation quickly before our session ends, I can show you what exactly it shows. So in case of a newly QR'd machine, when you do the system status, show status, what exactly it shows, like nothing is there, you may need to run discovery. So you run your discovery, like for that the command is hardware discover. Let's so this comes
Vijay, one thing, every time we do a quick restore, do we need to configure the IPs again?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it just deletes that logical drive and it recreates the logical drive. So all the information it will lose. So all the network related information, everything it will go off.
Okay.
Is there any other way we can copy that, like that net underscore wizard, that kind of configuration file from any other unit and use it?
Yes, we can. The thing is, it needs like at least IP, like 1 gig IP. Probably you may not have to like configure all the IPs. Okay, just one gig IP, because you need an access to copy that file, right? So at least if you configure just one gig IP and then access that from wherever, and then you can copy that.
Vijay, one more thing. So we'll be using this generally when we want to move our Dutch to a lower version, right? Like
Yeah, in
we
our
request
case
lab.
yeah. So in our case we generally do on three cases. Suppose two cases. Sometimes whenever some code generally tends to break the storage with the problem. That time we QR that to go back to whatever version, and in some cases as part of investigation, sometime like in Circle, let's say like we have consistently seen some low performance something, and we wanted to go back to Y code and check it. In those cases we generally do the QR is only like upgrade. That's why as and when we get a new code, we generally upgrade using those RPM, and it's easier. But when it has to be downgraded, then the QR is the only option. We cannot do it using any the old version, the RPMs. It has to be QR'd. As an example here, like it was already running on Y code, so I just QR'd using um, X code. Such a your favorite actor. I just have to connect. Is it anyways to pause it? Okay. I'll just pause it and have a meeting to attend. I will just complete that meeting and I will call you guys again.
Vijay, I have cancelled 3:30 meeting, 3:30 to 4:30.
That's fine. I have a testing meeting to attend now. Probably
Okay.
I will attend that and
If you
then.
want to continue, we can utilize that slot actually, if everyone is fine.
I will. Yeah, I will just after. Like it will take 5 minutes. I'll just give my update and then I will again going to ping you guys so that you can join. I'll pause that recording and we'll resume that recording once we start the session again.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I was telling. So as you can see that it asked me now. It reimaged and it asked me whether you want to shut down or continue, and I'll press 2.
We just share the screen.
Yeah. So yeah, it came. So the image got loaded and it asked me to press any key to reboot. I pressed any key, it rebooted and it came back, and now it asked me whether you want to shut down or continue installation. I pressed 2, so you can see that it's updating the BIOS and it is setting up the serial console and it is setting up the iBricks. So it does everything and then it gives me the admin console. It again prompts me to log into the admin console. So we generally log in using admin, and then like I said, like using what is this? Okay. Okay, as I said, it successfully does this, and it has brought me to the admin console. So you log into admin as an admin, and then using this console, you like do a configuration of your IP, and after that, like from putty or something, you uh, mm, log into your box, and from there, if you do system show status on a newly queued mission, good. Okay, so you can see that this much is discovered to be added. The reason for this to come up is I kind of ran a QR on already running machine. So when we run a QR on already running machine, like that is already built a storage, and like already parity and everything was initialized, it kind of telling me to just that's the reason it's already discovered. In case on machines which storage and everything was not configured in the previously, and it is a fresh machine, this thing will not come, and it will simply say like nothing is found, no volumes found, run discover. So there you generally
I have a doubt here.
yeah.
So probably for sizer, like we change the configurations, right?
Mm.
But suppose, like I just consider a scenario, I have a max config machine, or say even a min config machine, and I change it to max config. I add the storage, and even before it gets added, I actually do a QR of the machine. I'm not sure if we are supposed to do that, or should we wait till the parity check is complete and only then we can do the QR? Or is it possible that I add the disks and then do a QR, and that point in time I see that the machine gives a message that it is yet to discover.
For sizer we don't do QR, we just
So we
add.
don't do QR.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you a scenario.
Yeah. So you had some machine, min config machine. Okay. You done the QR, and then you want to add the storage, and then
let's assume that it's on a particular build with min config, okay, and for some reason I want to change it to max config, and I want to use the earlier build. Probably I want to downgrade it, okay. So in that case, what I would do is I would add the storage. I would add the physical disks to it, and then do a QR to a lower range. So does that allow me to do that, or is it expected that I do a QR first and then add the disks to it?
so I didn't understand.
See, suppose here what you said was, since the machine is already running, it shows that the disks are already discovered, which I agree and I understand also. Now let's assume that I do some hardware addition to a particular box, which is also already running. Okay, but for some testing or for some reason, I also want to downgrade or secure the machine to some other build. Okay, so at that point in time, do I have to wait until the parity check is complete and the machine comes up running and then I do a QR, or does it really allow me to do a QR even before the parity check is up, and at this point in time it shows me that storage is yet to be added?
Yeah. So yeah, the reason I did reimage this machine is to just to show you like kind of problem we face. So I had like some suggestion or some best practices to be followed while doing the QR. It depends upon the kind of code we are currently running on, and for a different kind of code we are running on, we need to run different set of commands to before we proceed into QR. So in this case, it was running on Y code, okay, and I didn't change anything. I didn't do anything. I just mounted my Xanadu code and done the quick QR. When I done the system show status, as I didn't deleted any of my previous storage or volumes or pools, it clearly directly showed me like this much was because when I do a QR, it kind of like logical volumes, it doesn't recognize the storage, and also I had to add the storage again. That's by default. But as volumes and pools are already existed, it is already discovered during Y. It showed me like this much of discover to be added. If you try to add it, you see that it says like run discovery, cannot find all the physical volumes. And if I run discovery, it's saying like some alien volumes are present. It's not able to discover. So that's the reason there are some best practices or some steps which we follow whenever we do a QR. So from 3.11 onwards, okay, 3.11 is Xanadu code or 3.12 is Y code. So from 3.11 and 3.12 onwards, like if I am planning to ground grade my machine to any code lesser than 3.11 or 3.12, okay, first thing to do is, even before you QR, okay, is to delete the storage. For that, we can use this CLI command, delete storage all. So it has successfully deleted the storage. This I was able to do it even after doing the QR, mainly because the Xanadu is 3.11 code. So if I am QRing my machine into 3.11 or 3.2, I can still delete my old storage. Like if I am querying a machine which is on 3.11 to a code of 3.11 version, I can still delete my storage after querying. That's same logic applies if I am querying a machine which is already on 3.12, 3.12 as well as to any lower version. Means I can delete my storage. Okay, let me write, and that will make your life easier. Okay, let's say I am currently running code is 3.12. Should Excel be easiest thing to do? Yeah, running code. One, two. Okay. So let's say like I'm currently running with 3.12. That's nothing but Y, and I want to kind of downgrade or QR my machine to any lower version of that Y code or higher version of Y code. I can just do the quick QR, then run the hardware delete storage all to delete the existing storage and then rediscover the storage, or then add storage. I can run this thing even before I start QRing it, like putting by mounting that and all those stuff. I can just run this command, delete all the storage, and then start the QR, and then once it comes back, do the hardware discovery, and then run the hardware add storage. Or I can directly QR to whatever code, and then do the hardware delete, and then hardware discover and hardware add. But the same applies if I'm trying to do from 3.11 to 3.12 to 3.11 as well. So I can run this hardware delete storage before QR or even after QR. It won't have any issues. But I had to run because, as I said, showed you earlier, I didn't run this. I simply kind of done system show status. It said like it's already discovered to be added. When I tried to add it, it said like some alien volume or same some problem, you need to run discovery. When I run discovery, it complains some alien volumes. So that's why I deleted it. Now when I do a discover, it will allow me to discover, and then same time it will allow me to add storage. This was possible because I was doing it from 3.12 to 3.11. But if I was doing 3.12 to 3.10, this thing whatever I executed now would have not been possible, because in 3.10 and all that hardware delete storage command doesn't work properly. So in that case, probably what I should have done was I had to run hardware delete storage all even before starting the QR. But in case if you end up doing the QR to 3.1.0 even before deleting the storage, then you need to manually log into a box and delete all the volumes and pools, and then you need to run the discover. So here now I will run hardware discover storage. Were you able to understand what I was trying to say through this? Any one of you has any doubt, like what I exactly meant?
Yes, Vijay, that's clear.
It's clear. Vijay.
Yeah. So if I am doing from 3.12 to 3.12, I need to run this command, but I can run even before queuing or even after queuing. Same applies to this. But in case if I am queuing from any that which are running on version 3.12 to any lower version than 3.11, then I have to run this hardware delete storage all before queuing the machine, before even starting the machine. But if I don't run this command and then just do the QR, then I have to manually delete each of the volumes and each of the volumes pools, and then do the discover and add. And same in case of like if I'm trying to QR a machine which is already running on 3.11 to 3.11 or whatever, I need to generally do the cleaning. The cleaning wise there, it's also like manually deleting the volumes and pools. But here one more possibility, like if you QR, you can run the hardware delete storage. Or only thing is here, like if you miss this thing, you need to do manually.
So Vijay, in the last two scenarios, we should do it after quick querying, like because in 3.10 we can't do it.
Yeah. And here, like if you want to do before QR, it has to be manually. Like you have to manually delete all the volumes and pools. But if you don't do it and just QR to 3.11, it's fine. Just run the delete storage all command, which will do.
Okay.
Like I'm just telling the negative case. If you miss, won't create a much issue like deleting. But here, if you don't run the hardware delete storage all before you do the QR, then you'll end up with so many issues. Sometimes even manually deleting doesn't work. Then you have to manually delete once or twice, reboot the machine, and then again do a quick restore again, create the logical volumes again, and all those stuff.
Or we can simply reimage 3.12 again and then hardware delete storage.
Yeah, those are all things has to be, yes.
Best way is we need to use at the beginning only, right? So it applies for all the scenarios.
No, it doesn't apply for 3.10 if it's in the beginning, I think. In the last two scenarios, it doesn't apply.
Okay. Exactly.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, now, one more thing came, like, it is like, for every expansion, it requires a license. Okay. So when we do a QR, it just deletes all those logical volumes, and even that licenses, everything will go on. So for all the DATs, we are wherever like we generated a license and wherever we add this expansion, like I have identified and added for 50% of DATs. Other 50% of DATs I'm still in middle of 2 minutes. Still in middle of uh, adding the license. Okay, just wait for a second. I have to vacate this room. Okay. So for this as oh shit, I haven't shared. Let me share. Hello?
Yes, Vijay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. For this as
Still
well,
loading. Yeah, it's done.
so yeah, in the wiki we had this section called license, where we have kept this text file, where we kind of captured and documented. I kind of recorded and put this thing for few of the DIRTs. I'm still in middle of collating for the other DIRTs. So like in a week or so, I will put the licensing information for all the DIRTs, whatever we have. So you can come here in the wiki and you can like pull out this text file, and then you will see the existing whatever license, the capacity license or catalyst or whatever license it has generated with mm, um, and take that and add it. In case if you don't have a license, like let's see, like you are planning to do some encryption test on that, which has not kind of previously used to run IPsec, so that means definitely it will not have IP like the security license on it. In case if you have generates any new license or something, just let me know so that I will just put that into wiki. So in any case, if you generate any new license either to capacity or any feature for matter, just give me that key and that information, which I will put it in the wiki. Okay. So the once you do the hardware discover storage, and that will discover, then one important thing to follow other than the deleting thing is to wait for parity initialization to be over before you add storage. You can discover storage, but it's a good practice to wait for parity of volumes to be over before you add storage. You can add storage as soon as you discover storage, but what happens is, especially with the max config 600 4900, I see it takes around like 3 or 4 days to completely initialize the parity if you add storage before you waiting for it to get over. But if you wait for parity to get over on 6500 and those machines, it generally takes around like 16 to 24 hours to do the parity, then hardly takes 2 to 3 hours to do the storage addition. This I'm talking in terms of max config 4900 and 6500. For the other DIRTs like 4700, 4500, it will be very less than what I have just quoted. So I think when we were doing the sizer testing, I think I said send you out the set of commands to check those stuff. Like when you do the discover, it will create a volume and parity initialization will trigger. And then what you have to do is log into root, and then every machines, especially the machines 4900, 4700, 6500, whichever uses the different card, has these clusters. So this HPSP underscore CCU is the utility which is used to extract the information about the existing clusters, volumes and pools. When I run this command HPCCU slow clusters all, it lists me the existing clusters. So I have to find out the volumes informations on those existing clusters. I just say like HPHP show volumes all details, show cluster, and then the cluster ID. What this will do is it shows me the details about each and every volume. So now this is parity is done, so you don't see anything on it, but on the machines,
The widget you should give verbose.
yeah. Yeah. So as I said, you run your show cluster all command, it will give you the list of then when you do show volumes verbose, yeah, not details, verbose, and with the cluster name, it shows up like this. And here this completed percentage, that is actually shows you the percentage of parity initialization. So it will start from 0, 1, 2, 3%, and as soon as it completes 100%, it just disappears. If I show it on this machine which is already configured, not going on, the jobs, it shows nothing, but on when it's happening, it will show the percentage. So it's always good practice to discover your storage and come back and keep on monitoring this parity, and that is visible not only here. You can directly do it from GUI as well. In GUI under pools it will say like volumes, parity initialization is progress, and it will show up in yellow color. Once it is done, everything will turn into green, and here also in the back and it will show like nothing, no jobs running. After that you can come back and then just run hardware hard storage command. After like running the hardware add storage command, you can keep on running system show status, and once it successfully added the storage, and everything is configured, when you do a system show status, it will say like formatted and service sets are running. After that, very important thing to do, which you do after upgradation as well, is to run those hardware show firmware and hardware show firmware node 1 and hardware show firmware storage 1 commands, and then act accordingly. If that command tells you to upgrade some component firmware, then run that hardware update firmware node 1 and hardware update firmware storage 1. The thing is, while running those commands, let me hardware update firmware, you see that this force option, okay, this is a must in case of when it is asking you to downgrade. For example, when I QR my machine, which was earlier running with Y code to X code, there is always going to be a difference in the kind of firmware my machine will have, because in X it was running with some old firmwares and in Y it was upgraded. So in that time, when you do the hardware show firmware node 1, it will tell like it's already running with some higher version, but it has to be downgraded to lower version. So in that case, if you just run hardware update firmware node 1 and hardware update firmware storage 1, it won't downgrade it. In order to tell machine to install whatever it is recommending, is to use the force option. So this is must in case of downgrade. And this is how we generally cure the machine. So as a best practices or a best suggestion, what I tell is, in case if you're like curing a machine like 3.12 or 3.11 to any lower version, try to delete the storage before you start the cure, then do the cure and do the discover, and wait for parity to get over before you add storage. That's the two things: deleting the existing store before you start the QR, and waiting for parity to get over before you add the storage. These are two things which will define the timings of our QR. If you don't delete your storage and then QR, then you'll end up sometimes facing a lot of issues on clearing those alien volumes pool, and you'll end up a lot of time in discovering the storage. If you add your storage just after discovering storage before waiting parity to get over, then it takes ages to do the parity, and you will end up waiting days and days for, especially on the max config machine. If you wait for parity to get over before you add storage, it fastens the parity, as well as you will make the machine up and running in a quick time. I am kind of coming up with suggestion on downgrade and all the stuff. Still something to be added. Then I will like the best practices or whatever we need to do. I will share it across. That's all. Any questions on QR or how has to be done and all those stuff?
Vijay, one thing,
Yeah.
you said that in some platforms we can we have the option to install this software anywhere, not only on the dedicated disks. So does it mean that we can do it in any of the drives that resides on the shelf, or it means something else?
No, it's the product and that itself takes care of like
So
for example, let me show you. That's actually code takes care of it. We don't have to do anything on that. Just for a knowledge purpose, I said like it varies based on the DUTs we are using.
okay.
We don't have to do anything. It's the code or software or that to take care. But what I wanted to convey was it varies for the DUTs. Like I'm trying to open one Waterloo as well as I will open one. Okay, this is a Waterloo. If I expand your hardware and you expand your storage cluster, you see like 2 drive enclosures. Okay, so if you click on drives, you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 drives. As well as if you click on that, like this also has 12 drives, but you see like volume name LUN1 and LUN1 here.
Yes.
These 2 disks are used for that logical volume where it keeps the data and all those stuff. These are under the pool or storage which is used for our data transfer, like our data storage. These 2 are used to create that software stack or logical volumes. But if I...
So basically those will point to the system disks, right? If I'm right?
Yeah, it's part of the system disk. So my Waterloo had like my head and shelf. Each of them had like 12 drives. So 2 drives on my head is used to create those logical volume and keep those software. But if I take an example of Temple, you see this, it has one cluster has 5 enclosure, other cluster has 4 enclosure. So if I click on drives on each of them, you can see 12, 12, 12. You found 12 drives on all the 4 enclosure on this cluster. Let me find the drives. Like 12 drives here, 12 drives here, 12 drives here, 12 drives here. So all the shelf and all the storage, it is used for data transfer, like for data disk. But this had one more enclosure, one more head, which came up just with 2 drives that is used to create this LUN and store the data on 1 terabyte, 2 drives. And all other drives, you can see there are 2 terabytes. These are the shelves.
Okay.
It has not used any of the existing, whereas in Waterloo, it used the existing 2 terabyte drives to put those LUNs on. It didn't add any separate drives to put those logical. So it varies across the DUT. That we don't have to worry about. It's the internal code to take care. Just for knowledge purpose, I just told you like it just varies. So yeah, important thing as I said in any QR, like just make sure to delete the storage well and before you start the QR. And that this I kind of shown you as part of the DATs which are uh, which uses the defender card and all the stuff. In case of, there is one exception in the sense, in case of B6200 where it uses the P2000 controller, there that also, like if you are running on 3.12 and all delete, okay, we don't have to like manually worry about manually deleting, because if we follow the best practices, so there also delete storage all will work. But just make sure to run those commands before you start your QR. And the second thing is, wait for parity to get over before you add the storage. As soon as you discover a storage, just keep on monitoring the parity. It shows up there as well, and it will show in GUI as well. In case of like when parity is happening, if you come to pools and just check on volumes, it will say that RAID initialization in progress, and it will turn up in yellow color. Once parity is over, it will turn like, it will show like everything is up and running. Yeah, that's all from my side. Yeah. Any questions? Any doubts? Okay. Let's end up the session. Probably once Shruti comes back from her leave, probably I'm not going to schedule any meeting next week. Probably in the first week of March we'll meet again, and probably we'll start discussing about the other stuff.
Thanks, Vijay.
Okay, thanks.